Jason, good to see you. We have a really important topic today. The top tricks used to scam older adults and how to spot them. Scams targeting older adults are on the rise. In 2021, 93,000 older victims were scammed out of $1.7 billion. And a recent report from the BBB found romance scams are the riskiest for people 55 to 64. So we want to walk through some tips. And the first tip is watch out for phone fraud. This isn't just about clicking on a bogus email.
Exactly. These fraudsters have really gotten good at things like spoofing phone numbers. So they'll call you or text you from a phone number that maybe is only one digit off from a number you recognize, or they use a local area code. So they've become very, very sophisticated. And, they're really good at also picking up on information, perhaps on social media. So, for example, they may text you something that says, "Hey, I'm friends with your niece, and your niece, whose name is so and so, is in the hospital somewhere."
Right.
And they're
Right.
getting this information off of open social media channels like Facebook and things of that nature. So it's become a very, very sophisticated issue, and so that's where the scammers, I should say, have gotten very sophisticated, and that's why it's becoming an even bigger issue today.
And you wanted to bring up something kind of new. It's called smishing. It's from SMS, text messages, and phishing. Explain that.
Right. Yeah. So if you've heard of the term phishing or spear, so phishing is kind of these bogus emails or bogus text messages that come out. Spear phishing is when it's very, very deliberate. It's targeted directly at you versus widespread. But now there's this new phenomenon called smishing. And in fact, I didn't even know what it was until somebody tried to smish me. They actually came after me on Facebook for my Silver Tree business page. Essentially was getting messages on Facebook that looked like they were from Facebook, saying that my business page, Silver Tree, was going to be taken offline for violations of some protocol or some rule that they have, and they were going to shut my business page down on Facebook unless I clicked that link. And I was so tempted, I almost did it, but then I thought about all these rules that we're about to talk about, and luckily I didn't fall victim to that.
Good for you, Jason. All right, next, research before making an investment. Older adults are often targeted because they have greater financial resources.
Absolutely. We know that, as we get older, we amass more wealth. And then the more wealth that you accumulate, the more you end up becoming a target. And it's much easier for someone with, a couple $100,000 or $500,000 to part with $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000. It's much easier for you to part with that than maybe somebody who only has saved up $5,000 or $7,000 or $10,000. And so, these wealthier people, as you get older, are going to be targeted by these fraudsters, and they're very good at what they do. They have lots of practice, and they do it over and over and over again all day long. It's literally their full-time job. And so before making an investment, you always want to do your research, check the investment firm, make sure they're registered, make sure their licensing is in good order, make sure the person you're talking to is licensed and is in good order, doesn't have complaints. Because again, these are all things that we can look up and research. The information's available. We just have to go out and find it. Yep.
Right. Next, be on guard for those sweetheart swindles. People who are recently widowed or divorced are often targeted.
Yeah, and this is unfortunately the one that I've seen the most throughout my career. And it's the one that makes my blood absolutely boil.
Right.
That there are folks out there that they lose a significant other, they've been married for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And what these scammers will do is they will watch obituaries.
Right.
They will see, because in the obituary, it always says who survived, right? And then they'll go and they'll find that person, see if they're on social media. They'll do research. They'll try to figure out where you live. And then they will befriend you and say, "Hey, I'd love to come visit, but I need to fix my car. Can you send me a couple $100 to fix my car?" And then, of course, it just escalates and escalates and escalates. And they're preying on, our emotions, and our emotions are so frail and can be taken advantage of by these people. And that's the one that really makes my blood boil. So if you know anyone who's lost someone, it's really important to stay close to that person and talk with that person. And if they talk about, "Hey, I met someone new," or "I have a new friend," those are kind of the early warning signs that there may be one of these sweetheart swindles occurring.
Special spot in heck, as we would say.
That's right.
Next, of
we
course,
we use different language when we're offline, but
I'm
yes.
trying to keep this G-rated.
Yes.
Next, of course, reach out to somebody you trust. Ask for a second opinion. And this is kind of what you're saying right now, too.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. So one of the things that we do for a lot of our clients, and I know a lot of other advisors around will do this as well, is they'll put on accounts what are called a trusted contact, which is
mm-hmm.
just an additional person. So if, like for example, a client calls me, maybe they're doing some abnormal withdrawals, or they email me and say, "Hey, I met this new friend. They need some money. Can you just deposit some money in my account?" They have a trusted contact, typically a, close family member that we can reach out to just to make sure that there's another set of eyes, and then somebody else who's maybe closer to them that can go check on them or whatever, or knows the situation more intimately than maybe we do, because we don't see them every single day. Having that trusted contact is really important. That's why we always say reach out to your advisor or another family member, get that second opinion before you hand over your hard-earned dollars or your private information to somebody that you just met.
Right. And that segs perfectly into your last point here, Jason. Guard your personal information very carefully.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, if somebody gets a hold of all of that information, then they can start opening accounts in your name, or they can use that information again to get closer to you, by maybe referencing family members or referencing who you went to high school with. Say, "Oh yeah, I remember you from so and so," and it can just really. That's why, again, protecting your information, not having it just out in the ether, so to speak, on the internet or in social media, keeping all that stuff closer to the vest. One other thing too, I would highly suggest is that if what a lot of people do is they'll freeze their credit. So in the event that your
Yep.
information is
Yep.
compromised, at least if your credit's frozen, nobody come out and get a loan or a credit card in your name. That's a
Right.
good way to safeguard that information.
Yeah, I do that anyway, even though I'm hyper vigilant about these kind of scams.
Absolutely.
Great advice here, Jason. Thank you very much for explaining all these tips to us.
You bet. My pleasure.